Hey everybody, Dr. Nicholas Thomas here. I just finished recording a great episode of The Hospitality Spirit with Sarah Bond, the Regional Director of People and Culture at Four Seasons. During our conversation, we talked about a wide range of issues, including her current role and career path, advice for people pursuing a career in HR and hospitality and tourism, the function of a management training program and how it can be used to jumpstart your career, and finally, some great advice for students meeting a recruiter for the very first time. I hope you enjoy this episode of The Hospitality Spirit. Hey everybody, welcome to this Hospitality Spirit. Dr. Nicholas Thomas here, recorded live at the Corner Estate in Jackson. I'm here with Sarah Bond, the Regional Director of People and Culture for Four Seasons. Sarah, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we've known each other for quite a while. You've been really engaged in our school, in classes, recruiting our students. You're a member of our Hospitality Advisory Board. Regional Director of People and Culture. What is that? What does that mean? What's your role?
Right. So it's interesting because it used to be called Human Resources, and we actually recently, in Four Seasons in particular, have looked at what we actually do, and it really is about the people and it's about the culture of the brand. And so we actually recently changed that. So I know that previously it was Human Resources, but People and Culture really represents what we do. And what that is essentially we protect the culture of the organization. So the people that we bring into the organization are going to have that Four Seasons attitude, that Four Seasons personality, and then we maintain that employee engagement and their motivation through our culture, and then that can go through the entire employee life cycle, whether that be transferring out and on, or transferring out.
Sure. So regional, so you kind of have like the Midwest region. I mean, when I think of Four Seasons, it's not a massive company.
No, we have about 110 properties.
Yeah. So, but it's an incredibly impactful company in terms of a very, very strong brand. So, when you say region, kind of what does that entail?
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons that I love Four Seasons is because it's very personalized, not just for the guest, but also for the employee. And I have a passion for the mountains. I used to work in Vail, Colorado, and so my region is actually the mountain properties, Chicago, and then Las Vegas. So I have Whistler, Denver, Jackson Hole, Vail, Las Vegas, and Chicago.
So by mountain in Las Vegas, so Mandalay Bay, the Mandalay Bay Mountain in Las
right.
Vegas.
That one I think they're just like, she'll be good in Vegas.
That's a great property. Like,
yeah,
it's got the top 8 floors of the hotel there.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and actually, outside of the Vegas Strip, and this,
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful. There's so much open terrain, and there really are amazing hikes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been great for me because it's a really great, also personally rewarding role. So I get to go a couple times a year.
So you kind of balance your time between these different properties, and so does each individual property have kind of someone that's responsible for the HR function? You kind of oversee that.
The people and culture function.
The people and culture function, and then you kind of just like how does your time split between those? Are you kind of based here in Chicago, and then?
Yeah, my primary focus is the Four Seasons Chicago. So each property has a director at the location, and so for this regional role, then I just speak with the directors. So if something bubbles up that needs to be handled on a more corporate level, then I'll manage that. Otherwise, for the most part, it's just working on corporate projects potentially, or cool. Managing the day-to-day.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
How does someone get to that position? I'm curious. What's the pathway that from kind of maybe when you were in college to getting to this? I mean, I know you've been with Four Seasons for a while. I mean, have you always known you wanted to be in people and culture?
It's interesting because, and I can take you way back, and you can edit this out if you need to. But essentially, when I went to school, I wanted to be a psychologist.
There's no way we're editing that out. Because I think a lot of working in hospitality is about psychology.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So, and I was speaking with my mom about it, and for me, she's like, "Do you really want to sit in the same room day to day and hear, potentially the same challenges with the same people, or do you want something more dynamic?" And I thought that was a really great insight. And so, human resources, or the people and culture function really is about the psychology of your employees and about making sure that they have what they need in order to be successful, and that's really rewarding for me. Plus, I'm really passionate about travel, and I'm passionate about food and beverage as well. So it's great because the people that I'm working with and working for and speaking to and building relationships all have very similar passions. So I'm a people person that's serving people. It's great. It's a very rewarding role.
Why Four Seasons, though? I mean, there's lots of players in this market that you could possibly go to work for. I mean, this is the really big differentiation question that a lot of students, when they come to us, they say, I know I want to go into the hotel industry, but why Four Seasons, or why not this company?
That's a really great question, and they all bring very different value for sure. For me in particular, I really value having the opportunity to build something from scratch and giving quite a long leash, and Four Seasons is really embracing of that. They are an organization that, you can jump as many times you want and they'll give you a springboard. They really help you bring your ideas into fruition, and the key is that you have to have the ideas, so they're not going to put things in front of you necessarily. You have a blank canvas. It's your job to bring the paint and to bring the sketch, and then they'll help you elevate it.
I really like that. They'll give you a springboard. Give me an example of something like that, that you had, maybe not you, but maybe something that you've seen where someone had an idea that was maybe outside of the box, and Four Seasons says, here's your blank canvas and a springboard, paint a Picasso.
It's interesting. It can be anything simple. For example, when I was in the Orlando property, we built a benefit structure for our new employees at the Walt Disney World property, and I happened to have to go to the emergency room, and I realized that the deductible was way too expensive. And so I was saying, if I was at the assistant director level thinking this was too expensive, then I know our employees were thinking it was also. And so I spoke to the corporate office, and the very next year, when we were able to negotiate the price, they actually cut that to be 1/3 of the cost. And it was because of our conversation. It was because they valued my opinion. And so that one conversation affected 1,000 employees at that property. Wow. And so if you think about how many times someone has come to Four Seasons with a small idea like that, and it's really impacted a larger scope, I find value in that. They really listen to you. I think another example is, from the guest side, we're hearing that a lot of our business travelers, they want room service, but they don't want to have to wait the traditional amount of time. They're not here for leisure. They're trying to get out the door. And so we created a menu, a 15-minute menu. So if you wanted something from this particular menu, you guaranteed to get it in 15 minutes. So it's just little tweaks that makes a big difference, throughout your day.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But there's only one thing I'll have when I go to the Four Seasons Chicago. It's the best thing. It's the hot dog.
The hot dog. Yeah.
The hot dog. I mean, listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you want a really good hot dog, go to the Four Seasons Chicago. When the first time I had it, it just blew my mind, and it still does to this day.
It is amazing, and everything's homemade. And then I'd say a close runner-up is definitely the chicken sandwich. It's definitely a surprise heavy hitter. So the next time you're back, Nick, We're going to have the chicken sandwich.
Deal.
Yeah.
And a hot dog. I can't not.
You can have both.
Okay, I can.
You'll have
both.
the chicken
sandwich
for
dessert. I can have my cake
dessert.
and eat it too. Okay. Okay. So travel. So I love asking this question. What are some of your bucket list travel places that you want to go to? I mean, the travel benefits of Four Seasons are great. So, I mean, there's Four Seasons everywhere that are absolutely beautiful. But what are some of the bucket list travel places you have in mind?
It's interesting because the next 4 months I have a trip once a month, but it's actually for work, which is exciting. So I'll be leaving for Toronto on Monday. We have a trip to San Francisco scheduled for the Great Place to Work conference. We're really passionate about being a great place to work, so every director of people and culture will go to that.
That's a great property, the one in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. I used to live just south of there, and it was always nice when I went into the city to stay there. It was,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it.
Very, very nice property.
Yes. But then, one of the great perks of being in the regional role is that the U.S. regionals get to go to the EMEA APAC regional conference, which is actually in Bahrain this year. So
when are you going to be in Bahrain?
I know. So I'll be there for 10 days in April, which is really exciting.
I'm just going to miss you. I'm going to be there in March.
Oh my gosh.
So we teach our MBA in Bahrain. So we have the faculty from here go over there. So I'm going to be in Bahrain for 2 weeks in March. I can't wait. I'm really excited.
It's such a great experience. Yeah.
I've never been, and I think it's going to be a hoot. I'm really looking forward to it.
One of the great things about working in hospitality is that you meet people from all over the world, right? So I actually know a couple of people, and they're like, oh, Bahrain is like where the Middle East go to vacation. It is like the place of the place. So you have every right to be.
For hospitality and tourism, like it's perfect.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
This is what we do. This is where people go to vacation.
What is the MBA program about?
So we have just a partnership with the Bahrain Institute of Banking and Finance. So it's students that live there.
Right.
So it's the DePaul degree, and we are able to kind of offer it. It's
that's
it's
great.
a fun partnership.
Yeah, you guys do so many travel excursions.
We do. I had a crazy travel this November. For work, I was at a conference. I did Ireland, the Netherlands, Denmark, and Italy in like 12 days. Like it was this insane travel extravagant.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still just, my mind is just still boggled from it.
Yeah, it's almost too much to take in at one time.
Yeah, I think next time I go, I want to find just like one place and just focus solely.
And deep dive?
And just kind of do a deep dive into the food scene, do a deep dive into the people and the culture. And because each of the places I went was lovely, but like you're there and like you do this like really quick like hop on, hop off tour. You're like, okay, I've seen all the things I need to see. But you always leave there, like I felt like I always left a place saying, there's more I should have seen, like right below the surface, and I just didn't see it. And I think you can only do that when you go and you spend a significant amount of time in some place.
Yeah.
All right, let's change gears a little bit. So a lot of the students that we've had come out of DePaul have come over to work at Four Seasons Chicago. Lots of different positions, but we've had students go into your management training program.
Yes.
I am fascinated by these management training programs because they are an absolutely great way for a student to transition from their either their undergraduate or their graduate degree, go into a highly focused development opportunity that in many cases is rotational, and then take on an entry-level leadership position. Tell me a little bit about this concept at Four Seasons and what you do, and what does an ideal candidate look like for something like this?
Yeah, so the management and training program is something we've had for quite a long time, and I know each hotel or hospitality company has a variation of it. The one unique thing about the Four Seasons MIT program is that essentially they provide a personalized experience. I think, I'll probably say this quite a bit throughout our conversation, but it really is about what is the student interested in and how can we facilitate that. So, for example, I've been in the Chicago property now for 3 going on 4 years, and we have 3 to 4 MITs a year, and no experience has been the same because they each have different needs, they each have different passions, and we try to propel that forward, whatever that looks like for them. So we have Kevin Stevens, who was with us as an MIT, and now he's an assistant housekeeping director. We also have Thomas Wright, and he actually went and did front desk, and now he's in the spa, so he's seen a different side of it. But and then the other piece of that is the MIT program. As I was mentioning before about that blank canvas, we give them a project, but they really can come up with their own passion project. So what do they see in the hotel that they think they could really make an impact? A perfect example is we had an intern this last summer, and she was so interested in the art that we have in the lobby at the hotel. And she said, I bet there's a lot of guests that want to know where the art came from. And we're like, that's a really great idea. So she researched all the art, put together this amazing brochure. We obviously made a professional copy of this, and now we provide it to our guests. And that was an intern idea that came out of just pure curiosity. So
that's not the only way to get into an organization, but what's the application process like? I mean, is it one time a year everybody kind of starts at the same time? How does that kind of work?
It's constantly evolving, but it's typically it's about being involved at school. So, we do a lot with DePaul, and we participate in a lot of the activities that you put on. I think you do a really great job at providing a lot of opportunities for students. But that's typically where we've met these students. I mean, if you remember, both Thomas and Kevin I've met through different events that you've put on. And so for me, that's typically where we find our students. It's not necessarily at a formal career fair. It's usually through interaction with the school. And I take a lot of weight from the professors' opinions and how much they're involved in the school and how much they're actively engaged in class. And then that's what we use to assess.
That's interesting.
There is a formal application,
Yeah.
but it means a lot when we see you actively involved.
So you mentioned career fair, and I get this question a lot from students that it's always interesting because when I go to our big career fair that we have every year, shameless plug, I kind of stand on the periphery and I watch students that come in, and I can identify a student right away that has never been to a career fair before. And I walk up to them and I will say something like, what are you doing? And I usually get the same answer. Well, I'm just trying to figure out who I should go talk to first, which is kind of their default response. And over the years, what I've kind of started to realize is they just don't know how to break the ice with their recruiter. Like, it's a really intimidating thing to go up and talk to a recruiter for the first time. What kind of advice would you give a student? Like, you're going to be at our big career fair coming up, and you're going to have lots of students that come up to you. They might literally have never talked to a recruiter before, let alone a regional director of people and culture for a fantastic company like Four Seasons. What are you looking for in that 30-second to 2-minute conversation? What do you suggest they say, talk about? What will help? What would help you in that situation, and what would help them?
I think a quick piece of advice is just be interested versus interesting. So I think a lot of people feel like they have to give me every great thing they've ever done in the matter of 2 minutes, but I really value people that have just a natural curiosity about what we do and to ask good questions. I do want to know about the student, but I also want to know that they are very thoughtful about their future, and that if they come work for us, it's because they have chosen to make this decision. Because it is a big commitment. You're saying that you want to spend majority of your waking hours with this organization, so you better really think about it. And so, other than that, I would just say be natural and be honest if you're nervous. I've been nervous before, and I know what it's like. We're all human, so
absolutely.
That's about it.
I think students sometimes don't think that faculty are nervous. Every time faculty walk into the classroom, we're a little nervous. I mean, every time I taught, yesterday was my first class of the semester, and I get that kind of rumbly tummy feeling, and you walk in, that's totally okay. Someone once told me that, if you're nervous, it kind of means that you care.
Right.
And you really want to do well. So, I think for the students that are listening or anybody that's sitting at a career fair, it's okay if you're nervous. The recruiters know that you're nervous, but you're genuinely there to learn a little bit about the company and show that you're interested in possibly having a future with them. I have a lot of students that I think would be fantastic in human resources, but I think a lot of times when students go into hospitality programs, they think traditionally of like operations is where they're going to go. And I mean, when I went to hotel school, that's how I was trained. It's you got to go start at the front desk, and then you work your way up and you kind of move around. And I didn't realize until very late in my career that human resources had all these great opportunities: training, development, compensation, labor relations. And I kind of sometimes wished that I had known about careers on the human resources side earlier on. What types of opportunities do you see for someone that maybe wants to start out in like kind of an entry level human resources position? I mean, they're not going to go right from graduation to regional director of people and culture. I mean, there's a lot of what I would consider entry level positions in human resources. What kind of opportunities do you see out there for students listening to this that are saying, maybe operations isn't the track I want to go, but I really want to go into hospitality and maybe go into like a Four Seasons, but HR is my passion.
Yeah. Well, I will say a lot of people in human resources within the hospitality industry start out in operations, so that's okay as well. That is actually a great segue because a lot of your role is working with the employees, and so they want to have confidence and trust that you understand what they're going through. And so when you can say, don't worry, I've worked the overnight, or don't worry, I've had a guest be upset with me on that side, then there's a sense of camaraderie there. And so sometimes that's more validating than...
That's a good point. Yeah.
Than just being straight through human resources. That being said, I was a server at one time, so I definitely have been through that process. Mm-hmm. But with Four Seasons, I've always been in human resources or people and culture. And so with that, I would say there's not that many opportunities out there because it's usually a smaller department. So just actively know the companies that you want to work for and actively follow their recruitment site. And then just keep in touch. I think a lot of people are surprised at how open human resources professionals are to having a conversation. If a student reaches out to me, I'm usually going to meet with them. I mean, there's no reason not to. So just don't be afraid to reach out.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
What I'm always interested in this idea of kind of mentorship and finding people in the industry that have kind of inspired you and guided you. And I have mentors, and I have mentors for different things. I have mentors that help me in kind of my career development. I have mentors that kind of help me kind of in my day-to-day, how to ensure I've got good work-life balance. What about you? What are some mentors? You don't have to list them by name, but kind of how has mentorship helped you in your career?
I would say it's the single most important thing.
The single most important thing?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because there's so much that you don't know about life, and to accept that and embrace the fact that someone probably has more information than you and to seek them out. And I think the one myth that people believe is that people don't want to give advice and people don't want to share, which is absolutely the opposite. If you ask someone for advice, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be so excited to be able to share their experience. And I would say for me, within Four Seasons, I mean, outside of Four Seasons, I've obviously had mentors, but within the company, I mean, my mom even jokes, she's like, you're a better person now than when you started. She's like, they've raised you better than I did. So that's such a compliment, right?
Sort of, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. She's
kind of self-deprecating.
Right. Well, I mean, it was just like funny because she's like, but every boss I've had has been more than just a boss. They've truly been someone that I will stay in contact with for a lifetime, regardless of whether I work directly for them. I mean, my boss in Orlando helped me buy my first car. He went with me, and they're like, is this your dad? And I'm like, no, this is my boss.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
as we close up here, I'd like to kind of end each of these podcasts with just some advice that you would give students or people kind of listening to this, thinking about going into the hospitality industry. I mean, what's kind of the one takeaway?
Make sure you truly have a passion for it. Make sure that you wake up every day and you feel like it truly is fun. My current manager, Michele Grosso, our general manager, he has this great saying of, if you wake up one day a week and you're not really excited to go to work, that's okay. But if it becomes 2 days a week, then you probably need to find a new profession. So find something that you're excited to wake up for. Because then you'll ultimately be more successful and you'll be more engaged.
Fantastic advice. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. This was wonderful. It's always good to visit with you. It's always good to kind of see the passion you have for Four Seasons and being a people and culture professional. So recorded live at the Corner Estate in Jackson. This is Dr. Nicholas Thomas. Thanks for listening.